Welcome to the Rocket Roof Show, where we equip fellow roofers to do more commercial business every first and third Thursday of the month. It's time to launch your business to the next level.
This is Project Command. Stand by at power transfer.
3, 2, 1, blast off!
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Rocket Roof Show with your host, Andy Neer. And today I have a special guest with me, Jack Hanks with Velocity Public Adjusting. Welcome to the show, Jack.
Thanks for having us in today. We're excited to be here, man.
I appreciate it. I have to admit, I don't know a whole lot about public adjusting, so I'm going to be your chief student right along with people that are interested in learning about this. I'm going to be asking questions from a fifth grader level. So just give me a little snippet about who you are and how you got into this business.
Well, I was a restoration contractor since 1989 out in Phoenix. And then about 6 years ago, I decided to make the change. I was when I was in restoration, I was on State Farm's Premier List, and I did work for Farmers, Liberty Mutual, Crawford, all the big networks. We were part of their system, and I just got tired of having the be controlled by them and by the mailbox. So about 6 years ago, I decided to make a change. Got my public adjusting license, and then went to work for a firm here in Phoenix, and we got busy and got our brand going. And then about last June, I started my own entity here at Velocity with a couple partners, and here we are 8 months later, and off and running, man, doing crazy busy. Cool stuff.
Okay.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So, of course, I'm going to start off with a dumb question, but
Right.
many people might not know the actual answer to it. But give me a good description of what a public adjuster is and what he does.
That's a great question. Actually, nobody knows about us until they know about us, right? It's one of those things you don't really ever think about that until you have a catastrophe at your home or business. So a public adjuster, we're basically an advocate for the insured. We represent the policyholder to level the playing field to ensure they're getting proper treatment and payments from the insurance carrier. Because most oftentimes, as you know, the carrier has their own self-interest at heart. And our job is to come in and get the claim negotiated fairly, negotiate in good faith, and get the claim paid properly and expediently as we can.
Okay. That's a great explanation.
Thanks.
When is the right time to use a public adjuster? When is the appropriate time?
Well, honestly, every time. That's not usually the case. There are a lot of good insurance companies out there, a lot of good adjusters, right? It's just a lot of times insurance companies don't do exactly what they need to do. So our job is really to do, more complex claims. When there is commercial losses, almost every time I would suggest getting representation, because the commercial policies are basically about a day and a half read on those things. So a simple residential claim, typically not so much. But when things start getting sticky or getting bumps on the road, that's when you bring, it's like anything it's like having a CPA on your side to do your taxes. You really don't want the IRS doing the taxes in your behalf. You want your CPA preparing your taxes and sending them in. Same thing with an insurance claim. The last thing you want for an insurance claim is having the people you're paying the policy to negotiate what they're going to pay you. They're controlling both sides of the narrative, which really isn't the best business move in the world, as you can imagine. So
Right. So a supplementer is totally different than what you do, but do you work with supplementers also?
I do, yeah. I have a couple of supplementing firms that we recommend quite a bit. We don't do supplementing. Supplementing is when you basically, for instance, you have a $25,000 roof claim and the insurance company left off 5 or 6 different items off that claim. That's not really our cup of tea. Our cup of tea is we're policy guys, we're coverage guys. We come in and look at the entire claim as a whole, and then put a scope of damage together and address that fairly. It's a little more in depth, a little more complicated, larger claims usually. Supplementers typically handle, a $30,000, $40,000 roof claim, and God bless them, because I'm glad somebody's handling those, because typically those go, they get left untouched. So our stuff's a little more complex, a little more in depth, a little on a larger scale typically.
So in the commercial roofing, that's specifically what we're talking about here, commercial roofing. in that world, do you see a lot of contractors maybe looking over claims that are possible and doing re-roofs and not maybe looking to see if there's damage or if there's even a claim? I know I'm guilty of it, just because maybe we weren't even aware that a storm went through, or maybe we weren't aware that there's wind damage or whatever. So you see that as a problem?
Yeah, not really a problem. I mean, you guys are there to make it, we're all businessmen at heart, right? Entrepreneurs. So your job when you get called in to look at a roof, your focus is to get the best product and the best service and the best number to that client to get that roof repaired and or replaced. A lot of times commercial roofs especially get overlooked because I mean, there's some large numbers we're talking about, and a lot of people don't know if there was appropriate storm date or if there was actual damage. I mean, it takes a lot of investigation to look at a commercial roof, and you got to get down on your hands and knees and get dirty with it and find out if there's gashes and gouges and things like that. And at the same time, was there a storm that made these openings with this damage during the period of the policy? So there's a lot of moving parts, and that's not really your guys' job is get out there and put a new product on, right? Our job is to get claims negotiated. So we work with a lot of commercial roofers, and our job is to educate them and educate their clients as when and where a claim is needed and necessary and valid. The last thing we want to do on our end and on your end as well is turn in incorrect or false claims that are never going to get paid, because all that does is hurt the insured and hurts their building and their renewals. So we want to have clean, good. There's three things that are needed: a policy in effect, a good storm date with damage. If those three things are there, that's a claim. If one of those three things are missing, it's not a claim. So
right,
a little bit of a science to it, but at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's education and communication. Having good people in your Rolodex is a big thing. I have a lot of good commercial roofers I work with. Hopefully they feel the same way about us. So it's a teamwork thing for sure.
So let's say a contractor like myself, we're not really in a storm market. Light hailstorm comes through every 8 to 10 years.
Yep.
And I know a lot of guys, they are like, well, I'm not a storm chaser, so they don't even really think about there being a storm. But is there something they can put into their pitch or into their initial inspection that would trigger that thought, hey, I might want to look for storm damage, as well as just like, I'm going to look at a failing roof. I'm going to look at a roof that is old. Is there something that they can put into their inspection that triggers like, hey, maybe I should ask this question?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of apps out there. You can find a storm date. So the first thing I would do is see if there's a legitimate storm date that if there is in fact damage on that roof. There's a company called HailTrace. You can go on there and you can find a storm date with that address, and if it's within that policy period and it makes sense and there's actual damage, not maintenance issues, not you know what I mean. That's supposed storm created openings is the big keyword in our business, right? So if there's actual damage there, that would make sense, and that's a conversation that we would have with the building owner. Like, hey, there is a storm date. You do have coverage. Let's talk about having a claim here, and you're going to be out your deductible either way. And is it worth risking having an opened up claim? Our big thing is we don't want to take claims that have no chance. Don't help anybody. Don't help you. Don't help the insured, and certainly don't help us. So we want to find those storms that actually have good damage. I mean, hail can be, if it's too small or too mushy or too wet, or there could be a million things why it doesn't cause any damage. However, there are legitimate hailstorms out there, as you know, and windstorms that create damage, and that's what stuff we have to look for, not just on the surface, but did the ISO board get damaged? Is there dimpling? Is there ripples? Is there a million things that can go wrong? Just because you don't see it right away doesn't mean that some research can't be done to get down and find where actually the problem is. So, especially if there are leaks after a storm, one thing I would educate my guys on, and for you as well in your audience, if you get a call after a storm, there's a possibility that storm created some sort of damage and or problem to that roof. Rain is not a covered peril, right? But lightning and flying debris, hail, wind, those are covered perils. So you have to be very cognizant of that when you guys are going out to these large commercial roofs.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I've talked to many people that have said, well, we had some hail, but I looked at this TPO roof or EPDM roof or PVC roof, didn't see any damage. And but I've seen guys that are like, well, we take and cut a little 12 by 12 section up, flop that up, and you can actually see there's impressions in the ISO, which can be covered.
Correct. So that's where honestly the industry fails as a whole. A lot of PAs, a lot of roofing contractors go on these roofs and they don't see any quote unquote visible damage. They'll walk and not worry about it. Well, like you said, those EPDM roofs and the other type of roof systems are geared to take that punishment. However, the ISO board below it, once there's a small fracture or indentation, it's going to affect that, right? And ISO board is part of the roof structure, and it's part of the policy and part of the claim. If the ISO board is damaged and we can prove that, we do a lot of moisture testing. We use we use core samples. There's a million things we do to find out what, if anything, caused damage to that. And once again, we have to pinpoint that particular storm that caused that damage. And if it's 7, 8, 9 years old, then there's not much we can do about it. But if it's fresh and new, and there is a created opening from that storm date, that's something we would pursue, definitely.
Sure. So I'm assuming there's probably quite a bit of training that goes into becoming a public adjuster. Can you speak to what kind of training you go through?
Well, honestly, that's a great question because there really hasn't been a lot of great training till recently. There's 3 or 4 public adjusting schools out there. Cal Spoon has a great one in Galveston. Matt Mahalan does a great thing in New Smyrna Beach. We actually started doing training about 2 years ago ourselves. We've trained about 250 public adjusters and roofing contractors the last couple of years because simply there's not a lot of places to go to get the knowledge you need to be a great public adjuster. I mean, it's not all about writing a good Xactimate estimate or taking good photos. That's certainly part of it, but there's a whole nother level of chess and gamesmanship and things you got to do and morals and ethics that come along with that to be that. So we started about 2 years ago training. We trained several hundred of our competitors just to kind of raise the bar on what we do because the field was so void of training. But Cal and Matt and I work hand in hand to make sure we're not overlapping dates, and so we promote each other as much as we can, and all that. I even send my guys to schools to learn more. I want them to. They've been to Matt's classes. They've been to Steve Patrick classes in Texas as well, just to learn more stuff. The more we learn, it might be a different way to get a claim by I never even thought about or have a handle on it. And it'll click with one of my guys like, hey man, we got to start doing it this way. And honestly, when we do these trainings too, there's not one time, I think we've done 9 of them or 10 of them now. Every time I come away with something I learned from some of the trainees that didn't even occur to me, or a little avenue or a train of thought or a word that would make a lot more sense to use. So it's been beneficial on both sides of the fence. And it's been a much needed thing in our industry. And I'm glad there's more of it coming because you can never have enough training. Just like you guys, you can always learn more about roofing systems. The more knowledge you have, number one, it's great to have. Number two, it's a sales tool. People know when you're full of crap, right? So when you know what you're talking about and have product knowledge, there's nothing like that. That's second to none, man. I feel anyway.
Yeah. So from what I understand, you won the Public Adjuster of the Year award. Well, that's pretty impressive. What is that? What does that entail?
I mean, it's a lot of hard work and a lot of votes. Storm Venture Group, we're a big part of. Anthony Domenico has done great things for this community of roofers and contractors and public adjusters, bringing us all together. So yeah, we were nominated last year. We won it about a month ago in Dallas for Public Adjuster of the Year 2021, 2022. We're very proud of that since being such a new entity, only 8 or 9 months in when we won it. It's a huge credit to our organization, our guys, our team, our grind, our hard work, what we're all about. So I was very excited and very exhilarated and very motivated to keep working hard, man. It's pretty cool what we won. Yeah, I was very excited about that.
Something to be said too, to be nominated by, is it by your clients pretty much?
Yeah, so most of our stuff is it's the roofing clientele, right? We market roofers, intensively, and that's probably a lot of our referral work is from the roofing community. So we were nominated by them and voted in by them, and that's how we won. And it's quite a big statement. I'm very proud of that. It's been it's a lot of work. I'm not going to kid you, but it's that kind of a little bit of icing on the cake when you get to win the award. It's pretty cool. So, but at the end of the day, Monday morning, you got to go back to work and do it all over again, right? So.
Did you get a cool award or any kind of glass trophy or anything?
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
on my desk right here. We got one. I got a bunch of other ones we won years before when I was at the other company too. So I got a
Okay.
stack of them here on my desk. It's kind of cool. So
Cool.
yeah, man, it's
So
nice.
with skyrocketing property values, we all seen that, not just property. I mean, everything's skyrocketing right now, but with property values for sure. How is that affecting your work, what you do, since it's, you're evaluating claims?
Well, here I'm in Phoenix today in Scottsdale in our office, and property values in Phoenix and Scottsdale have risen 38% the last year. It's going to go up another 20% this year. I saw on the news last night. So what's that, a 58% increase in 24 months? So the problem a lot of people are having is you just don't, your insurance isn't updating fast enough, right? You bought a home a year ago or 2 years ago for 500 grand, and all of a sudden it's worth $850,000, but you only have $500,000 in coverage, and you have some sort of catastrophe or catastrophic loss. Next thing you know, you're underinsured by what, $300,000-$400,000. And as you know, you can't hardly get product on your end. Windows and doors and roofing material, ISO board is months out sometimes. So these costs are raising and raising and raising every day. And a lot of people are really, it's sad, but they're underinsured right now. So they really got to be cognizant of getting with their agent and their broker and getting those policies up where they need to be. A big problem we're seeing we did a lot of work in Hurricane Ida hit New Orleans last August. We did about 400 claims there, and a lot of them are commercial. And a lot of commercial policies have a co-insurance clause where if you don't update your policy and get it up to market value, they're taking a percentage right off the top of the claim, because what they're saying is you guys didn't insure the value of the property high enough for adequate protection. So basically, you're co-insurance your own property. So I got claims where they're taking $200-300 grand right off the top before the thing even gets started because of the policies not being up to par for the value of the property. So it's scary, and people got to be cognizant of that. And I encourage, I've told all my friends, relatives, call your agent today and raise that thing up, because you can barely keep up with it. It's insane. I mean, they get 3, 4, and 5 offers a day on houses and buildings, and it's just it's an inflated market, as we all know. But at the same time, if something does happen, you don't want to be caught and out $200-300 grand off a claim, because some people never recover from that, man. It's scary, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you kind of answered my follow-up question, but I'll ask it anyways. Do those changes to values also affect your clients? And do you make recommendations to your clients on what to do?
Oh yeah, we have a big thing. We want to review those policies before something happens, right? So, we get policies in every day, and our team goes through them, and we give a recommendation. That's part of our service to our clients, is making sure that they're on above or in front of what could happen to them. I mean, 99% of the time, nothing ever happens, but it's that 1 out of 100 when that building gets a roof blown off or they have a fire or a flood and they're lacking coverage is a huge problem. So we do a lot of, stuff up front just to ensure they're going to be okay, because, you go home tonight, your house is burned to the ground and you're uninsured by $300,000. There's nothing, no attorney in the world can get that money out of a policy. It's not there. It doesn't exist. So we're continually trying to educate our clientele on, hey man, let's get these things covered properly, because at the end of the day, insurance is fairly inexpensive, right? For a building and a property. It's right there in the mortgage. You'll take it out of your mortgage payment every month and get it done right, because you get one chance to have a claim and do it right. It gets scary if not. So right.
So I've seen a lot of rumblings in the pretty much the social media with storm restoration work. I used to be really, really good in the 2000s and even up into 5 years ago. But with all of the contractors getting in and insurance companies changing the game because of the contractors, competition and everything, saying how it's going to get more regulated. Insurance companies are going to start clamping down. Is that more in the residential sector? Or is that going to?
Oh, it's right across the board. I mean,
also?
Keep in mind, man, insurance companies are for-profit organizations. They're not going to lose money, right? That's not going to be their MO. So they're always going to be ahead of the curve. So, what's happened since I've been doing this the last, 5, 10, 15, 20 years, when there was a hailstorm in Omaha, Nebraska, there were 500 claims, right? And all the local contractors would do the work and no big deal. Now, every time there's a hailstorm or a windstorm or a hurricane or tornado, storm chasers and public adjusters like us, we all head there and try to try to get claims signed up and do the thing. So the sheer number of claim volumes have substantially increased the last 5 to 10 years every time there's an event. So what's happening is the insurance companies, instead of having 500 claims, they're having 5,000 claims for the same event, which is costing them, billions of dollars more. And they're like, you know what, we're going to change the game on this. So we're going to exclude hail, we're going to exclude wind, or we're going to have deductibles high. So you're basically going to self-insure that roof. So these claims we're going to dwindle our payments one way or another, right? That's what they've done. They've been very creative, and they've got new policies through the Department of Insurances, and they've got these deductibles raised. We've had several claims in Louisiana and Florida and in Texas recently with hurricane exclusions, where hurricane hits the property and literally there's no hurricane coverage for the property. So these poor people are out hundreds of thousands. I had one in Lake Charles. It was probably a $3 million claim that literally had no hurricane coverage. So he got zero. And
when you say they're going to stop covering hail, you don't mean just stop covering hail. You mean they're going to give it as an option and probably just not, I've met a lot of people who just didn't really know it was on their policy because they thought their agent was doing their best interest for them. And they're like, whoa, I thought I was covered for that.
Right.
So you're thinking maybe that's going to be more of an option where, hey, I want a less premium. I'll take the hail off there. Or
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be like a buffet, right? Like, I mean, or they're going to raise the deductible so much. Like I got residential claims and commercial claims coming in now that have a 5% deductible. So on $1 million home or $1 million piece of property, you have a 5% wind and hail deductible. The first $50,000 is yours. So not many people want to cut a check for 50 grand. So they don't even turn a claim in. So that's deterring the insureds of turning claims in. The insurance companies are doing that on purpose. They want to limit their exposure. And like you or I, when we go buy our new home or our property, the first thing we tell our agent is, find me the cheapest insurance we can get our hands on just to get us covered. We never suspect we're going to have 2.5-inch hail hitting our property like 6 months later, right? So it's human nature. You get what you pay for a lot of times. Unfortunately, it's always buyer beware. And like you said, 99% of the population doesn't know what's on their policy. And then the agents don't either, typically.
So I've been to other states like Florida and down in the southern states, South Carolina, where the deductible is a percentage of the property value or something.
Correct.
But up here in Michigan, I still see a lot of policies with a $500 or $1,000 deductible.
Yep.
Which I think probably is the result of probably just not a lot of claims up here, not a lot of storm chasers, but maybe somewhere in the middle, between Michigan and Florida, some of them states are going to probably start cracking down on that, raising their deductibles, getting
for sure.
creative.
Like, yeah, I mean, all the hurricane belts, the Carolinas, the Florida, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Texas, they all have the large hurricane and wind deductibles, right? A lot of middle states, Nebraska, Iowa, they have the large hail or wind and hail deductibles as well. The Michigans and the Indianas, the Ohio's, not so much, but they're coming. Insurance companies are going to look at this stuff and go, hey, we're just going to start covering our tails more. They're going to start raising those. So, I mean, we do a lot of work in Michigan and Indiana's and Wisconsin's. There's not a lot of large deductibles there. However, in 5 to 10 years, it'll probably come there too. It's going to be more the standard as the exception, I feel.
Okay.
Yep.
So, do you offer training to your clients or on insurance claims matters?
To our clients, we try to educate them as much as we can. Our big thing is we'll try to train as many PAs across the country as we can. Number one, it's a recruiting tool for us. We want to bring the best and the brightest staff as we can. But, training, we'll spend 3 or 4 days with our guys and going through stuff. And it moves so fast. And the biggest thing I don't think people realize is every state is different. Michigan has different laws and regulations than Ohio, right? Even though it's right across the border from each other. Same thing as Indiana, Florida. They all have different states and requirements and statutes and laws. So we're constantly have to keep up on that stuff because we're licensed, I think, in 38 states as of today. So we constantly have to keep up with what's the statute is, what the statute of limitation is, what the coverages are. Is it a matching state? There's a million moving parts for every state and every claim. So that's part of the training, is to keep all these guys abreast of what's going on in their own little area, because it changes rapidly. It really does.
Yeah. So Wrapping up here, I want to ask a question. Let's say you got a guy, commercial guy, maybe he's new to commercial, maybe he just never really did insurance before, and he's on a job. Okay, I see damage. I'm thinking I need to file a claim. Never done it before. What's a couple triggers that maybe you say I need to get a public adjuster involved? Is it all the time, or is it some of the time? Is there something you?
Well, every claim's a little bit different. I'm a big advocate of everybody do their job. I mean, roofing guys who are worrying about roofs and the product. I mean, our job is policies and things like that. So what I tell my guys, if they're not sure, man, you FaceTime me, get me on the phone, send me photos, send me a video. We can usually tell within seconds if it's a valid claim or not, looking at the storm dates and stuff. So, I mean, the hail sign is, like I said, they get a call and all of a sudden it wasn't leaking on Monday. They had a storm Tuesday. Now it's leaking on Wednesday. That's probably storm damage there, right? So it's all kind of just be cognizant of your surroundings and understand what's going on and be aware and understand the policies. And the biggest thing, every roof doesn't have a claim, right?
Yep.
So that's a lot of guys want to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, and that's just not a proper way of doing business for any of us. So, telltale signs are fresh damage, right? You can tell if a crack or a gouge or a hail mark is fresh. You should be able to tell that with a seasoned eye. And if you're not there yet as a contractor, get a Rolodex of people, engineers, public adjusters, I have a ton of roofing contractors that would help new guys or help guys just getting in the field that'll answer these questions. Because, we all want to raise the level of what we're doing up, and turning in bad claims doesn't help anybody. So when a claim does get turned in, we want to make sure there's a really good chance of it getting covered for the insured, especially because we don't want to have a bunch of bad claims on his file because he won't be able to get another policy, or a really crappy one at that. So we want to make sure that's the case. And, just look at fresh marks, find the storm date and look at that, get down. Don't be afraid to get down on your knees and look and spend some time. Don't just run up there in 5 minutes and run through the roof real quick. Get up there and look at the air conditioner fins, look at the soft metals. They're going to show the first soft metals would be the first thing you're going to see, the gutters and the downspouts and the flashing, things like that with a softer material. There's a telltale. If they have no damage on it, chances are the roof membrane itself is not going to have any damage, right? It's a softer material. So kind of work backwards and then work from the inside out. We're a big advocate. We'll start from the inside of the building, see where the leaks are, and then work our way back. That's kind of the key.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
So what's a common mistake that you see a lot of contractors make, or you wish you could speak your heart to a contractor and just say, man, I just wish they would get this point?
Well, a couple of things. Number one is, like I said a couple minutes ago, every roof does not have a claim. There are roofs that are 35 years old that are just wore out, need to be replaced, doesn't have a claim on it.
Yep.
Number two is these storm dates are so important. I'd much rather have a roof claim with 3-inch hail from 2021 than inch hail from 2019. It's going to be a horrible battle at that. So know the storm dates, man. And that's a big thing. You use your tools around you to find out the storm dates, because throwing stuff against the wall, which happens a lot, isn't a great way to do business. It's going to be inconsistent. You're going to have not a lot of follow through on your clientele, and they're not going to want to call you back. So having the knowledge and the data of that going into it, but once you get the call, you can do your background checks then. Start looking at the weather, looking at that stuff before you even go on the roof. So you know what you're looking for. Is it wind or hail? What happened recently? What kind of roof is it, right? Every roof material has a different way of taking a storm. So be cognizant of that. Know what you're getting into. And then, also find your friendly public adjuster, review these policies for you guys. When you start the claim process, let's look at what there is and what there has to work with, because the policy is the contract the insured has with the insurance company, and we're all confined by the policy. If it's not there and not covered, there's no sense wasting time on it, man.
Right.
So let's see what we have before. Let's know the deductible. Let's know the exclusions. Let's know limitations of what we're working with, so we construct a game plan to make it successful for everybody is the big key. And don't be afraid of asking questions. Get a PA or an attorney or another large roofing company on the phone with photos, and we can tell you right away what the course of action needs to be. That's the key, is asking a million questions till you become an expert.
Right. Oh man, this was a great learning lesson for me today. I learned a lot. So I
appreciate that.
I thank you for being on today, Jack. I know we both got some getting to, but we covered a good deal there in that session. If people want to reach out to you, maybe follow you, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
I'm on Facebook, Jack Hanks. I do a lot of posts on there. I'm also on Instagram, Jack Hanks Public Adjuster. I'm also on LinkedIn quite a bit under Jack Hanks, Velocity Public Adjusting. Check out our Velocity Facebook page. Our website is www.vpa.claims. Check us out there. But yeah, we're available anytime. Answer any questions, review any policies, anything like that. We're always here, man. We're all about helping the community out. That's where we're trying to get to and strive to.
And we'll try to put those links down in the comments. They might not be on all platforms, but some of the platforms, if you look down in the comments or in the bio, you'll be able to see those links and you can get a hold of Jack.
Great.
Thank you for being on today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. I know we had a little hiccup yesterday. I think it was with the whole, not just the time change between our time zones, but also our time change on Sunday just kind of messed it up. So I'm glad you could make it.
Arizona never changed time, so our clocks are always the same, but everybody else could screw it up around the country. So
yep.
it was like that all day yesterday. It's like that twice a year for us. So it's kind of crazy.
Oh, well, I'm glad we could make it happen.
Yeah, right on, man.
Thanks for being on, and I'll see you later.
All right, thank you guys. Have a great afternoon.
You've been listening to the Rocket Roof Show podcast. Be sure to subscribe through your favorite podcasting platforms such as iTunes or Google Play to get the latest episodes as they are launched. For more, please follow us on social media or visit our website at rocketroofshow.com. We look forward to joining you here again soon at the next launch.